Welcome back to Daytime here on Rogers TV. I'm Jennifer Robinson, and Thanksgiving has lots of different flavors and finds, and we're joined by Natalka Felcomer, who is here from The Accommodating Kitchen, and she has a fantastic book of a number of ideas and recipes for every lifestyle and every option. Natalka, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me on. And you know what, you mentioned something, Jen, and I thought it was so on point. Thanksgiving is not a stressful time. Let's make sure it remains not stressful by accommodating those that have food allergies and knowing how. So not to be afraid to cook and cause someone an allergic reaction.
Yeah, because that makes it a tiny bit more stressful when you're running to the hospital or any of that other good stuff. A tiny bit more stressful.
Yeah, and digestion.
A great story. Makes for a great story, but not super memorable, right?
Absolutely. And there are a few things that you want to start doing. And today what we'll be doing is, or making rather, is a egg, dairy, gluten, peanut, soy-free pumpkin mousse that can double as a pie filling.
Okay.
And it's also vegan, meaning that it's dairy and egg-free and not made from any animal products, including honey. A lot of people don't know that. So if you have a vegan coming over, no honey, okay? That's something that vegans don't eat.
And then what else are we going to be like we're talking about on the show today?
Oh, absolutely. So another thing too is stuffing. A lot of stuffings use eggs. So I want to show people that there are other options, and this is on the website as well for the recipe, to have a stuffing that doesn't include eggs, and also this is vegan too.
Wow.
Something for everybody, vegetarian, low salt, those that have heart problems, digestive problems, and so on. Quinoa is in there, some gluten-free bread too.
Some gluten-free, wow. And when it comes to creating that, you know, the meal that can really invite everyone to the table, it's important to make sure that you're getting everything properly prepared.
Absolutely. That's something that any kitchen must pay attention to, any chef, to accommodate those allergies.
Yes.
A big thing to watch out for, and I didn't know this until I really start to get into it, is that you want to make sure you're using only stainless steel in your kitchen. That's because plastic, if you cut it and slice it, a lot of those particles can get caught in there.
Right.
And then potentially cause an allergic reaction. Wood as well, you want to stay away from. So anything that is hot washed and stainless steel is what you want to use.
So we're going to talk more about what you can do to make your kitchen accommodating for everyone to be welcome in this Thanksgiving. But right now we're going to see if Glenn's clowning around. Glenn? Thank you so much, Leanne. And with these recipes from The Accommodating Kitchen, you will not probably need to go for as long as a walk at the Tiffin Center, but beautiful scenery nonetheless. And Natalka Felcomer is here, who is showing us what we need to do to make vegan mousse. But we didn't really quite finish off on preparing our kitchen, which is what you need to do first before you make any of the recipes from The Accommodating Kitchen.
Jen, you're absolutely right. Again, cross-contamination is one of the #1 reasons why people have allergic reactions. So although we try so carefully to make sure the food is not cross-contaminated, you have to start with the actual kitchen.
Yeah. Peanut-free, like super big right now. Everyone's talking about, you know, keeping peanuts are not allowed in schools, you know?
Exactly. It's a huge issue. And one thing that we forget about, and I've had allergic reactions as a result, is that sometimes, let's say you have jam in your fridge and you don't have a peanut allergy, but your child does or your friend does, and you put your spoon into the peanut butter and you put it on your toast, and then you put your spoon into the jam and you put it on, double dipping. It's a no-no, because if someone that has a peanut allergy comes in, puts their spoon in the jam, that's cross-contamination. So what I strongly suggest is that you figure out what has been cross-contaminated in your fridge and label things that are peanut-free so you don't make that mistake. Another thing that's very important as well when you're cooking and preparing is to make sure that you start cooking the allergy-free food or the vegan food or the vegetarian food first. That way you can almost guarantee that you're not going to have a problem with cross-contamination.
Right, absolutely. And with our very first recipe, the vegan mousse, there are some substitutions in there already. Talk about that.
Absolutely. So if someone has a dairy allergy, that is the easiest allergy to accommodate. Why? Because dairy and the substitutions that are available mimic each other when you're cooking. So what we're doing here is a pumpkin mousse. And now mousses usually have a lot of high fat, a lot of dairy in it. Well, instead, what we're going to use is coconut milk, and we have a combination of regular coconut milk and light coconut milk, because I know we want to cut down a little bit on that fat, but you still want it to be creamy and tasty.
Yeah, and that has some nice consistency to it as well. So even though you're kind of cutting it with a little bit of the light stuff, it still is going to be delicious at the end.
Exactly. And again, you want to keep it a little bit creamy. You want to be a little bit indulgent. So we have the coconut milk in there. Now, what we're going to put in next is something called agar-agar flakes, and this is a seaweed.
Seaweed.
Yes, odd, but what it is very gelatinous. It replaces the gelatin in most mousses that you would traditionally use. So it's great for vegans, and it's actually more effective than gelatin. So you go right in there. I know you're good in the kitchen.
I love being in the kitchen.
Dump it in.
The whole thing?
The whole thing.
Fantastic.
That's about 2 tablespoons right there, and we put in about 28 ounces of coconut milk. And what we want to do, just start stirring that up, is...
You're going to start stirring that. We're going to talk more about how we need to start life with dessert first, but in an accommodating way. Stay with us. We got more to come, more cooking right here on Daytime. Welcome back to Daytime here on Rogers TV. I'm Jennifer Robinson, and every great meal comes together, and dessert should always be the first thing you try to accommodate everyone with. And Natalka Falcomer is here with her book, The Accommodating Kitchen, and we are making vegan mousse.
Vegan mousse. Very simple ingredients that any household has. Rather than fussing over a gluten-free pie and making all these things and worrying about cross-contamination, we're just going to use household items like maple syrup, cinnamon, agar, or gelatin if no one's a vegan that's coming over, and some pumpkin. But maybe let's talk about some other things that we can also do as that heats up as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, it does take a little while to heat up, but and the nice thing about this dessert, it actually also doubles as filling.
A pumpkin pie filling.
Right.
So after you chill it, as we're going to do later on, you can dump it right into your crust if no one has an allergy, if you had one handy. So it's excellent and easy. So you know what? Let's just dump some of the nice little flavors in there.
Okay. What's this?
This is cinnamon.
All right. I'm gonna keep stirring because
You
it's
stir.
vital to the process. And you're going to continue adding some good stuff. So.
Absolutely. So one thing that I do is I like to play around with my spices. In my house, we don't like a lot of cinnamon, so I like to put a little bit of allspice. You got to cater to your own kitchen, right?
Absolutely.
So you want to stir that up. And one thing, too, that I find is that when you put spices into any sort of mixture that's liquid, it can bulk up. So you just got to give it a good whisk. Have fun with it.
Whisk it pretty quickly.
Have fun.
Oh, there, and now it's starting to get hot. Our stove does take a little while to heat up from time to time.
Oh, that's fine. We have time today. So you just want to make sure that it gets nice thick. And what the agar does is it almost acts like how eggs act too, and that it binds everything together. It gets gelatinous and thick and harder. So that's why the agar is in there. And you want to heat this up and boil it for about 15 minutes until it becomes sort of slippery and gelatinous, if you will.
So a much thicker consistency than this.
Exactly,
for sure.
exactly.
Okay.
And next we're just going to dump in some maple syrup.
Nice.
Fewer calories than honey, which you're not using for vegans too.
Now, yes, why aren't you using honey for vegans?
Vegans don't believe that anything that is derived from an animal should not be used.
Okay.
And because bees, although not animals, insects, sort of touch and create the honey, they believe that interfering with that process, their livelihood is something that is offensive. So they don't eat a lot of that. So that's about a quarter cup, or rather half a cup of maple syrup. If you don't like things that are sweet, again, your kitchen is your own kitchen. Have fun.
Yeah, and it's all to taste and what you are going to be able to satisfy the most type of taste with this. But Natalka, we're going to continue on with making this, and right now we're going to see if Glenn's getting hungry. Glenn? Actually, it's just me. I'm still back because Natalka, we started making this dessert vegan mousse, and I didn't want to go. It is actually supposed to be Glenn, but I said, Glenn, away with you. It's my turn to have the sweet.
It smells too good. So
it does.
Because we're heating it up now on medium heat, allowing it to simmer. It has all those lovely cinnamon smells coming up. And see, this is what the tapioca is starting to do.
Keep doing that. No, you can keep doing it. You just pulled it too high.
Oh,
there.
I see.
So
there
now
we
the
go.
Consistency is
a bit more gelatinous.
A little bit more. Actually, because you only basically just started cooking that, and it has not been 15 minutes yet, but it's already coming together quite nicely.
Exactly. So once it starts to do that, you know you're ready. Just make sure you want to stir and keep it going as well. So as that cooks, I think we should talk about some of the things that I like to have around the kitchen.
Okay.
Especially for those that have dairy allergies. Now, whipped cream is a big thing. Pumpkin mousse with whipped cream. It's so good.
Really, you can't have one without the other.
Exactly. But you know what's a fun way of actually getting some protein in there?
How?
As well as making sure that it's dairy-free, maybe a little bit lower in fat as well, is by making tofu whipped cream. It's simple. Silken tofu, maple syrup, a little bit of salt, just a pinch or two.
That's it?
And you're good to go.
That's it?
Put it in a blender, and voila, you have yourself some whipped cream.
Okay, now people may be freaked out by silken tofu and how you can prepare it. So how do you prepare silken tofu to come out like this?
It's simple. Silken tofu comes in a box. Throw it into a blender. top it off with a little bit of maple syrup, and you're good to go. Again, a little bit of salt. It's
pretty good.
Adjust the sugar to your taste.
Yeah.
So go ahead if you'd like to try it.
Okay.
It's all yours. And
All
a
right.
little bit of protein in there with the tofu.
I'm going to try it with the back of my spoon because we have to share the spoon actually because we only have this one. So this is the accommodating kitchen at its purest.
Exactly.
This is my end and this one will be your end.
Absolutely.
Oh, the flavor is really nice.
It's fun, isn't it?
It's really good.
And it's excellent for you. And one thing that I love also about dairy substitutions is that you can use a lot of different fun things, and as well as get your protein and vitamins in there. Another great substitution, if you are substituting for a pie crust, the butter in a pie crust, don't bother with a vegan butter, or don't bother with oil. The best thing is coconut oil. It makes it even flakier and more lovely than a regular butter in a pie crust.
Well, that's
Little
good to know.
secret. So even if no one has an allergy, you can use that as well.
Well, it's good to know that that makes it much more flakier because that's the whole thing. Everybody wants that nice, perfect, flaky crust.
Precisely. Another really fun thing to substitute cheese for, and this is for vegans and those, again, that have dairy allergies, something called nutritional yeast flakes. And we use that in our mac and cheese with no cheese and no dairy here. And what nutritional yeast flakes are it's a strain from actual brewer's yeast, and it is sort of like a flaky, nice orangey color, and it tastes like cheese.
Really?
Yeah, and so you could put on top of things, you get that cheesy flavor while accommodating for dairy allergies and for vegans.
Wow, I had no idea. And okay, because some of the stuff, okay, I've never dealt with silken tofu or anything else that's out here in the kitchen.
Absolutely.
Where do you find this stuff?
You know what's really fun too? Because allergies are becoming such a big issue, you can find this in your regular grocery store. Nutritional yeast flakes, that might be in a health variety store. Side note too, great for vegans because there's B vitamins and protein in yeast flakes. Imagine that.
Oh, well, I didn't know. Well, I'm learning a ton of stuff today. But a lot of times when you hear, the whole debate back and forth about, what you should substitute with, and maybe you're cutting out too much out of your diet and not getting the right nutrients, but it just goes to show that you are getting a lot of nutritional content with these substitutions.
Just know your research and make sure that you eat a variety of things. For example, maybe you have a vegan or someone that has a dairy or egg allergy. A lot of stuffings put eggs inside.
Yeah.
So what you can make instead is substitute the eggs here for nice broth, bread, quinoa that has a lot of excellent vitamins and protein in there, as well as buckwheat. And also another thing that I find interesting is that a lot of stuffings have nuts in them.
Really?
How do you substitute for nuts?
I don't know.
Quinoa and buckwheat. Buckwheat, by the way, is gluten-free as well, and that's buckwheat groats right here.
So this is buckwheat.
And it can have a nice nutty taste if you just toast it slightly before you boil it.
Okay.
Easy way.
And how long do you toast it for?
Just a few seconds until you have a nice flavor.
Can you smell
it coming out. It's lovely. It's lovely and simple to make.
All right. And what's this?
That is millet. So
Millet.
one thing, millet is also great. A lot of fantastic fiber, protein in it, and it's gluten-free. And what I love about millet, it can replace white rice. So instead of having white rice, this is puffed millet. So this is a great cereal too.
I was going to say, I had puffed cereal just like this when I was a kid.
Oh yeah, and it tastes fantastic. It's gluten-free and peanut-free too. And if you're ever, topping something that you want to crunch, use puffed cereal.
Okay.
Yeah, it's quite easy. It's tasty, light, and you can always add flavor and sugar on top of it as well.
Very nice.
If you want to add that. And see how that's coming together there?
That is really coming together
There
quite
you go.
nice.
Maybe at this point we can dump in the pumpkin.
Okay.
And the pumpkin's just right over there.
So how do you prepare this?
Pureed can.
Really?
I got it from a can. Otherwise, if you are buying pumpkin and you're cooking it and roasting it yourself.
If you're trying to do the whole traditional, right from the garden type of preparation, do you know how to do that?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Well, first of all, it all starts with buying it. Make sure quite quickly that when you buy a pumpkin, it's not shiny. Shiny pumpkins, the shiny shells, means that it's not ripe yet. It's going to taste really bad, no flavor.
So what do we look for when we're buying our non-shiny pumpkins?
A non-shiny pumpkin, it can't be woolly. That means it's too old, no cracks. Has a
No
nice,
woolly?
No wool.
Okay.
A woolly, gross kind of thing. That means it's gone bad.
Oh, didn't
Make
know.
sure that it's a very heavy pumpkin. It looks heavy. That it feels heavier than it actually looks.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep,
So
check.
that can was really hard. That was
heavy
really
can.
heavy. Also, make sure that the outside is just sort of a matte, nice color to
Okay.
it. All right. So just dump that in there. That's about 15 ounces. There you go. You can use that
I
spoon
better use a
too.
spoon. I'm going to use your end, okay?
Go use that end.
Okay.
That's okay.
All right.
and just dump that all in there. And you just want to mix it up. Now, if it looks a little bit like you'll feel like your arm's hurting, you can't mix it up that well, and so on. It doesn't matter because you're going to be throwing this into a blender afterward just to make sure it's got that lovely puree type of thing.
Nice. Good consistency.
Good consistency. Now next, I find with any sort of baking, if you're going to be trying to cover up some sort of taste, and sometimes people don't like a strong coconut taste, vanilla works great.
Right.
If you're making a gluten-free pie crust and people don't really like the taste of, let's say, chickpea flour that you're using, vanilla. Put some vanilla in there, I'll cover it up. You just got to do a little bit of a shake there. So that's 2 tablespoons of tapioca starch, and starch just makes it a little bit more thicker. A little bit of water and vanilla. Dump that in there.
Okay, I will. Only because you asked so nicely, though.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Not commanding at all.
Not commanding. There we go.
Not demanding. I'm good. And that's going to cook for another 5 minutes. And you want to consistently stir so it doesn't stick to the bottom.
Yeah, and you got to kind of, so this is something that is really easy to prepare, but does need a little bit of attention when it's on the stove.
Yes, and again, that's like what? 15, 20 minutes?
Nothing.
Much
That's
easier
no
than doing
time.
a whole crust and doing all that fun stuff. And again, if you are lucky enough and good enough and brave enough to make a crust of your own, you can dump this in there.
Fantastic. Well, Natalka's going to stay with us so you can see what this exactly looks like as a finished product. The Accommodating Kitchen, stay with us. We got more to come right here on Daytime. Welcome back to Daytime here on Rogers TV. I'm Jennifer Robinson and Natalka Felcomer, The Accommodating Kitchen. We have put this in the fridge. It's been in there for 2 hours.
2 hours. And look how hard it is, actually. If you just take a look and use a spoon, it comes out
real hard.
quite hard there. That's because the tapioca, the agar-agar.
Okay,
So,
I'm going to blend this up.
absolutely, go blend it up. And we just want to make sure that when you weren't able to make it totally smooth in here, we're now going to make sure that it's totally smooth.
That's right.
Oh, yeah. That sounds good.
And you know what? It doesn't sound awesome, but I bet you it tastes phenomenal.
It does. We can even give that part a shot, too, if you like.
I'm gonna.
She's having too much fun. See, this is the best part, when you kind of can make like a big mess.
It is. We're getting a little messy back here, but where can people find your book?
Well, you can get the book on Amazon, our website, or any chapter stores.
Okay.
It's there to help you along and give you the essential tools that you need to make sure your kitchen is allergy safe and to substitute any recipe.
Oh, we can't double dip. So you take a little spoon, I'll take a little spoon. Actually, I'll get yours ready. There's 1. There's 2.
All right, awesome.
You ready?
Oh, I'm ready.
All right,
1,
have a
2,
bite.
3.
Yep. That's good.
It's like Lady and the Tramp.
Pretty much. But right now, first of all, thank you so much for giving us all these tips
Thank
and
you for
advice.
having me.
Check out The Accommodating Kitchen. Her book, it's phenomenal.